Welcome back, everyone. This is Stephanie at Hightower Stitching with today's video, which is number 211, and it is my poppy pillow is what it's become. And this is a picture of the quilt that I used a block from to make the pillow. My sister-in-law and I had picked up on one of those patterns that we really like, the one with the 4 blocks, and we said, oh, well, we can do that for the little boy's quilt. And then she said, well, I can do that for my sister's quilt. And so we actually have done that quilt 3 times, and that'll be coming probably about next week. It's got to be quilted yet. But anyway, so I was ready for something smaller. Well, I looked at these flowers and I said, well, that's going to be a nice smaller, not a smaller quilt, but a bigger pieces and everything. And then I did one of the flowers. And it's really nice the way it goes together. The pieces go together very well. And I said, okay, well, I think I was going to make this into a pillow. So I started looking at my material and I sort of auditioned like you do with different things. And I hit this piece of fabric and I said, oh my gosh, does that make that pillow pop? I could have made it nice and subtle. And I said, no, but I like this. And so I'm going to use this as the backing also. And then it's going to make a 14 by 14 pillow. And this one I got from Utopia Bedding online, and it comes all smooshed up, and then you fluff it or put it in the dryer, and they work really great. And I'm thinking about this pillow having an envelope back rather than sealing it up. But anyway, that's what we're going to do today. We're going to look at making this block. And then when I saw it, I also said, when I put this little edge, about 2-inch edge on there, I said, well, that tells you an idea. If you don't want to do the leaves that came with that and would like a different look, you can just put your sashing in between whatever size that you'd like. And there you can look back at the pattern. And the pattern the quilt came from Quilter's World, spring, April 2024. So it's relatively current, and it's page 22. But in the description, I'll put notes that you might want, and I'll have the customer's number so that you can get a copy if you want a copy. And I'll show you why I didn't continue, because I just started with the material that I had. But this is the first corner of the leaves that you see in that video. And if you love quilting like I do, hand quilting or machine quilting, it's got these great pieces of white to work in, and then the greens, getting the greens to go together. And I'll pop this back up, and you can see that what I was showing you was somewhere around in here. And there was the corner, and there was a side, because this piece is about 14 inches long, and you can tell that it's wide. And if you look at it, you can see that you've used 2 different colors, 3 colors for your flowers, but all of them have a yellow center to pull it together. And then you have, in this one, you have a dark center, and then a light, a dark, and a light. And as I was working on mine, and the next ones that we're going to look at, I actually liked the 2 fabrics I was doing, so I reversed it, and I put the light one in the middle and the dark one on the outside. There's a lot of things that you can do with that. And so we're going to start. And if you decide to do this one, I think I've got a pretty good setup for you when you're getting ready to get all your pieces together, if you'll watch. So the very top row is the center. And you're going to have this yellow over here, which is 1 block that's a 3.5-inch square. Moving to the left, you're going to have 4 that are 2-inch squares, and you'll see where I get that fabric. Then there are 2 by 3.5, and 2 by 6.5. And if you get that, that'll give you the center for your flower, which was like that dark part that we were looking at. And we're going to go through that a little bit and start with the center. All right, and then the next part, this is your flower part. There's a little sign that's a little bit out of the way. Okay, this is your flower. And your flower it's going to take 2 4 1/4 squares, and then you're going to come to your white or your cream or the color that you want to use for the background, and you're going to need 2 2 1/4 inch squares. And if you look at the white one that I've got right here, you'll see that I've drawn a line down the center, and then I have 2 lines, 1/4 of an inch out and 1/4 of an inch out, because we're going to make half square triangles with those. These two are going to go together. Now these are my petals, and you can see again I've got a dark center, and then I've got a lighter petal for that. And so we're going to work on that second, and then finally the other part we need for the flowers, it's going to be this last row. I've got this new holder, so you bear with me, all right. You're going to need that flowered material that you're using for the petals. You're going to need 8 3 1/2 inch squares, and then you're going to need 8 2-inch squares of your white. And you'll see where all of those go as we go through working on the video. And so for the video today, I actually went with these two colors, and I have the petals being the darker and the light being the other part of it. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is start with the center, and that's your yellow piece, and then the 2 by 3 1/2 inch small pieces. Now, I've turned this, reversed it, and so I'm going to use the light as my border for my yellow. Then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make the piece that goes next, and it's going to be the 2 by 6 1/2. And then here's where those 2-inch squares come in. And so what I want to do is I'm going to show you how I did that, but I want to take it and I want to just lay it, because you're going to see this is like a little mountain, and you're going to lay it like this. And with this one, there's not a whole lot that you need to do. And I'm going to flip it right now because I open my seams, and I want to make sure that they lay flat on this. And I'm going to come in here and put my thread catcher. All right, and I'm just going to do 1/4 of an inch all the way across. And you can see that I did press that, but if you wanted to, and you were doing many of them, you could just finger press it. But this one happens to lay really nice. And so here's where I wanted to get, because this takes off those corners on there. All right, so now let's take the one long 6 1/2 inch piece, and we're going to lay one of our 2-inch squares up here, the one that goes with the petals. And what I want to do is I want to remember that it's going to look like a mountain. So one place is going to be the narrow part, and one's going to be the wider. So I'm just going to start, and there's nothing here that you can chain stitch for this part, but we will look at another part that you can. Now here's the thing that I've learned is, besides having the catcher right there, all right, let's see if I got that there. Okay, now I'm running into that. Now I want to go up to this point. Try not to watch the needle. Try and have your eye be right here and sort of see where you want to go. And you'll be surprised how that works after you try it a couple times. And even if you want to start slow at first. And there I came right out on the point. So that's one. All right, now without turning it a whole lot, I want to make sure that I'm going to do the mountains. So I went up. Now this time, to make it easy, I'm going to come down. So I'll come over here, catch my thread. And I'm going to get it started. Okay, I've got it started. Now I want to spot where I want to go. You will be watching part of in there, but don't watch what the needle's doing. You watch where you want to go. And you'd be surprised. It doesn't take you long to get really good at that. And because we're going to keep going, I'm going to go ahead and just finger press these open, which is just what it is. And this is really a fun pillow. It's so nice when you get it organized, and it's like any other projects. All right, and we know where this one needs to go, and we know that the mountain's got to be at the top. So I'm going to set this on here again. And you can pin it if you want to. It's not a real long stretch, but you can pin it. And it depends on your material. If you've got a material that wants to slide, then you want to pin it, because nobody, I've always say, the ripper lady, I do not want to be. And then I'm just going to go across here at 1/4. So now I've got this and I've got it pressed, and what's really funny is it's kind of shifted, but I don't cut anything off until I get a little bit more done. And you can see that I'd held it together, and so whatever happened, but it probably is not going to affect it too much. Now what we're going to look at is a part that goes around on our petals, and we're going to make our half triangle squares, and they turn out so nice. And so these are the first one that I did. Now this was one block, and here again was 2 blocks laid on top of each other, the right sides together. Draw your line down the center, your 1/4 inch. This one, after I did the first block, I know that there's a lot of material and we're going to have to cut some off. So however if you stay close to the line, right down the line, sometimes you find a pattern and you want to go on the inside of that line or on the outside. But this one, we're going to have to trim this to the right size. So we're just going to go ahead and go down here. And again, keep your eye on where you want to go. Now once I get that off, here's my other trick. Some of you have seen this several times, but you see right here on this little corner, I'm going to cut in at a diagonal to the pencil line, and then I'm going to turn it and I'm going to cut out, or I could cut it back in from this side and cut that little piece out. That's going to make those dog ears. So I'm going to cut in and I'm going to cut in. That's gone, and you're going to have to cut them off anyway. You'll probably like to. And then I'm going to just cut this in half now. So I'm making 2 blocks out of those 2 pieces of fabric that were put together. And I'm going to open it up, give it a press, and we're going to have to do some cutting to both of these because we're making a half triangle square. And if the pattern, you just have to watch what it says about the size, and then when you get done, look at what you need. Because I actually didn't even think about that when I started, and I started to put another petal on the next to this, and I thought, oh, or for example, something like this, and I said, uh-oh, Houston, we got a problem. And then I said, oh gosh, I forgot to remind myself that this is going to have to be trimmed down to 3.5 inches. Okay, here's that larger square that we want to trim. And one thing that I had done before was where the 45-degree angle is, I took a Sharpie and I went down there and drew that line, and it makes it real easy for me to see. So what I want to come up here now is I'm going to watch this bottom corner, and I'm going to set it at 3.5. And there you can see that that's why my pieces wouldn't have gone together no matter how I tried. And I watched that line all the way up through there. And then I matched down at the bottom 3.5 and at the side 3.5. Take my cutter, And one more whack. Now we got the size that we need. We've got one more to do. Think to yourself, line it up with a corner, line it up with a line, all right? And then line it up at 3.5 on this side and 3.5 on that side. And this one, this ruler wants to slide around, so I really got to hold it down and reset it sometimes, but then I'm ready to trim and trim. And that's going to make a nice shape. We're really making progress because right now, when you look, we are finished with the center. We have done the half triangle squares. There were 2 that we put together and they got 4 sections. Now here's the last thing we're going to do before we get ready to put it together. This is your 3.5-inch squares. There are 8 of them. And there are 8 2-inch squares of your cream color or white. Now I've already done all 8 of those, but I thought it might be nice just to show you how I did a couple of them on the machine. Depending on, if you've sewn a lot, this is not going to matter. But I wanted to talk about chaining a little bit, because anytime you can chain from one piece to another, all right, I've got my triangle is on the corner, and I'm going to get this under a little bit better. Let's see. Let's come out. There you go. All right, I want to grab that corner. So I think I'm going to set this up there and slide it under that blue, which is just my catcher. And I'm going to get over onto it. There I am, perfect. It's knit and go in the machine. Now, like the other one, I'm going to start up there and I'm going to come down here. I'm going to be watching where I want to go. So let's do that. And you say, well, why worry about that? I said, well, if you've got 8 or 16 or something and you're making several pillows and you want to do parts at a time, this is an easy one. All right, and then put the other one on. Now, here's what's different for me is I could, let's see, that one I could try going that way, but I like to catch it better. You'll figure out which one you like. Instead of starting at the point, start where they come together, go over and catch that one. Look where you want to go. All right, that's 2. It's one more sample. Put it on a corner. All right, and there again, I don't want to come that way. That looks, I got too much fabric over there, so I'm going to tip it, and all of a sudden I have only that showing. Catch it, and it's caught. All right, now watch where you want to go. And pretty soon, when I got done, I had a chain of 8 of them. And let's go back and cut those apart carefully. And then you're going to cut off down to 1/4 of an inch. And you're going to finger press it or take it over to your machine and set it with the iron. Just press it. Don't iron it. Just press it on it. And then you'll have it. And so when I got done, and I pressed them, this is the way they look. We have one corner. All right, so now, as far as I can see, I think I got you ready to go. So, first thing that we're going to do is the top. Then we're going to do the part that goes across the top of the box first, the center. And we're going to take the 2 nice triangle squares we trimmed down. We're going to put 2 out, 1 on each side. And then we're going to go back to those 8 blocks that we did with the 2-inch block up there. And we're going to take 2 of those and put them in the center and then attach those to each other. Then we're going to take 2 that have the 2-inch corner, and we're going to make those for the side. So you need to take and put those 2 together, and then do one more set so that they look like a V. And when you're looking at the block, you want the mountain to be up at the top and down at the bottom. You're going to take the pieces that we just put together that had the makes the triangle. We're going to line those up with the sides. We're going to do those first. And like I could see that this one, I don't want to line it up with what's up here at the top because everything else fits except for right there. So that's okay, and I'll come back and stitch that one. All right, then this other one was that side that I was wondering about. And we're going to come over here and going to line it up because this corner is really good down here. And this corner is pretty good up here. So even though it looked a little wonky, I think it's going to be okay. So let's just quickly 1/4 of an inch. And if you can see my sewing machine, I went through all of the things of putting Post-its on it to show me where 1/4 was, put index cards on there, and I put tape, the painter's tape, but I put it on the outside of my cover, and I finally came up with what I could live with. And that's what I like about quilting. There's so many things that you can try for your machine or the way you like to work. And actually, my little tiny piece of painter's tape is on the cover, and I've got it lined up with a 1/4 inch mark. And I never have to replace it, then it stays there and it does well. So we're going to open this up, and guess what? Can you tell something I did wrong? I can too. I got so busy talking that here it's got to be facing out. So I'll take a second and fix that. And sometimes you get distracted, and there I was talking, and I thought, I know how to do this, and so I did it. But now you can see it was easy to get it out. And I don't mind ripping when I know that it can be fixed. So then I'm going to go back to the top piece that I did very first, and I'm going to make sure that my little valley is up here. You know, move it up and see how that's going to come together. I am so pleased, and I really like this little light center. I was surprised, but I also like this material. And if you're just doing a practice one, even then, choose colors that you like, and that's really neat. So then we're going to take these, and these are such nice 3.5 inch blocks, and this time I am going to pin, but I've started pinning away from the seam. If you've got a sewing machine you don't like running over it, the needles, which I never did anyway, you'd have to pull them out, and as you go, so I'm just going to go across here. That one is just I'm going to pin just so it'll stay laying flat, because I like to quilt by hand sometimes, and then I also on the machine I do free motion quilting, and I like to have the seams open. But that just means that you're not going to do much in the ditch on your sewing machine, because your ditch is a weak spot if you do it that way. Then I've got it all pinned. I'm ready to go. This is when it starts getting exciting. Do my 1/4. I had a little extra material there, so I'm going to straighten this out, because lots of times there's some stretch or a little bit of bias in there, and it'll make it lay flatter. Take my pins out. Let's see how we did. There it goes. Is that not cute? I might actually make that into something. Now you could even make table runner with several of these blocks, because they're nice and they're large. And I'm going to go ahead and do the other edge, which is going to be the same as the top, but going the other direction. I'm going to have my valley at the top. I'm going to have my edges, my boxes sitting just right. And you can look at the one that you did up there, and you can do that. And you can see I've added the last row on the bottom just like the top, pinned it. And you can see how nicely these come together, especially if you pin them. Like, look at that little line right there. That's perfect. And then that's one. And I always look for that to see how these are going to fit together. So that gives you how I made my poppy flower. This is Stephanie at Hightower Stitching. If I've forgotten anything, I will put it in the description. If you found this helpful or fun, please subscribe and hit like. Like I always tell you, it doesn't cost anything. Thank you for watching. And here's a reminder of the two versions that we have now. We have the light flower with the dark center, and then we have the one that we just finished, and it's got the light center and the dark petals.